So this is a story of every time you reach for your phone to send a message or scroll a feed, you're a participant on a journey that we can trace back for over 100 years to the early 1920s and to this man, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit priest, philosopher, and paleontologist, in his vision of something he called the Noösphere. You see, Teilhard didn't believe that the Earth's evolution from the geosphere to the living biosphere was the end. That at some point in the future, he saw that the Earth would have a third evolutionary leap into the Noösphere. That as human innovation pressed forward and that we created ever more powerful and new and ingenious forms of communications technologies, every point on Earth and all of us would be connected to each other. Kind of like we are now. But Teilhard's vision, it was a hopeful one of spiritual global mind, where what would happen is that, well, it was of human connection, human knowledge, of shared consciousness. It would make us evolve as humanity, as humans, to have a massive, intense compassion and understanding of each other. But at the same time, he issued a warning, this is 100 years ago, that there were dark forces that could take all of us, exploit it, take advantage, and turn his vision of the Noösphere in a completely different direction. He called out racism, nationalism, the rise of totalitarianism, and worried that authoritarians might be able to, or they would be able to exploit these connections of the Noösphere to manipulate, obstruct, and maybe even eliminate individual freedoms. Well, the Noösphere isn't a 100-year-old vision. It's here. This is just the array of Starlink satellites and how they, all 8,000, over 8,000 of them, encircle the Earth today. The internet, the cloud, social networks, the networks of satellites circling above our heads, they've knitted the Earth together in instant connectivity. But this Noösphere is not the hopeful spiritual vision of a Jesuit priest. This Noösphere was not formed in temples or parliaments, but in platforms and code, from X to TikTok to GPT, from neural nets to orbital satellites. We've constructed a sphere of human connection that's become less and less about Teilhard's vision of bringing us together and more about exploiting those connections to be digitized, monetized, and weaponized. Unwittingly or wittingly, we have created a Noösphere that's opened the door to mass manipulation, and we handed the keys to whoever could grab them first. And so Teilhard, with all his warnings of what could happen, failed to account for social networks, algorithms, deepfakes, the power of dopamine addiction, or of billionaires armed with rocket fleets. Billions of dollars were made by first unwittingly putting a Trojan horse in the palm of our hands. I'm not talking about a virus. I'm talking about a Trojan horse of devices that provide direct access to our minds. And this now poses an existential threat to democracies around the world. For 26 years, from 1999 on, think tanks like RAND were warning, citing Teilhard and his Noösphere vision and began to warn the governments of democracies that it was here. And by the way, it wasn't going to be his hopeful vision. Rand repeatedly warned that the adversaries of open societies would use our digital networks for the purposes of psychological warfare and to force social strife, create social strife. They'd already learned to shape and influence the perceptions in open societies through disinformation and propaganda, and that a digitized public square would not be a laboratory for freedom, but a laboratory for manipulation. But the companies that, driven by a desire to move fast and break things, well, they were rushing in to take full advantage of everything this Noösphere had to offer. And so that's the Noösphere and the laboratory we live in today, where every day we participate in an experiment of behavioral conditioning and control that was first used on rats. In the 1930s and 1940s, B.F. Skinner created a device to study animal behavior, the Skinner box. A small cage where a rat or a pigeon could step on a lever and get food or avoid electric shock. Skinner showed that if you controlled rewards and punishment, you could change behavior not by force but by design. And that's what our social platforms are designed to do today. Every like button, the endless scrolls, the notifications, they're all designed to deliver a dopamine hit, to keep you addicted to pressing the buttons and the endless scrolls. We're the rats. Our attention is the food. Our data is the product. And the companies behind these platforms are Skinner's heirs. And now comes AI, the next Skinner box experiment on billions of minds with no real idea of the impact on society or our humanity. And so here's Mark Andreessen, the powerful investor and entrepreneur. Let me translate for you. The shape rotators are the entrepreneurs and engineers, the big superior makers of worlds who build the Skinner boxes for the word cells. Word cells is a pejorative for the rest of us, the thinkers, the writers, the citizens that are trapped in the boxes that they designed and built to make them, the shape rotators, billions. This isn't arrogance. This is literally a blueprint for technocracy where our attention, our engagement, and our content are used and manipulated to keep us trapped in a feedback loop to maximize their power, their profits and power. Profits and power. Is it any wonder that the ambitions of so many shape rotators, authoritarians and dictator wannabes are now so aligned? And so we're approaching what the Italian essayist Giuliano D'Ampoli calls the hour of the predator, where the tech billionaires and the autocrats are aligned as the predators, and I would say I think that makes us the rats. So the question as you look at your phones and democracies around the world today is ask yourself this question. If millions of our citizens are being manipulated by algorithms, flooded with disinformation and propaganda, and are addicted to social platforms that push division for profit, who's really in charge? Ask the democracy of Ukraine when one man, not a government, not an alliance, decides whether Ukraine has access to Starlink as it defends itself against a brutal attack. We're losing our sovereignty and our ability to govern ourselves as both individuals and citizens. The very tools that we in open societies once believed would liberate the world are now being turned against the freedom of all of us. So in this hour of the predator, we can surrender the Skinner boxes, or we can crawl out of them, climb out of them, and build together a worldwide pro-democracy movement that reclaims the Noösphere as a space for freedom, dignity, and empathy. We can demand a movement that demands that technology must serve humanity and not the other way around, where we stop participating on the platforms that manipulate and divide, and instead start building together new networks of, for, and by the people, so that governments of, by, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. And to that end, we must demand that our governments and democracies around the world join together and join with us to take action now. The great democratic ideal of we the people has not vanished. It's just waiting for us to remember that the power is ours. Not one man's, not one country, damn sure not one bot and not one algorithm. This is a call to revolt, to reclaim our agency and our humanity, and to stand together to reclaim our ability to assert and demand our right to govern ourselves. The future cannot be left to those who build the Skinner boxes. It must be written by those who climb out of them. That's us. It has to be us. So rise up, stand together, revolt, be human. Thank you.